Good Thursday morning, everyone. Welcome back. You're watching the Kaiser Report. It's April 10th in the year of our Lord, 2025, and we're here today with a lot to talk about after the big reversal yesterday in the stock market that took place after an announcement that he was going to put a 90-day moratorium on the tariffs across the board, all except for China. There's a reason that this happened, and it's not what mainstream media is trying to make you believe today. As I went through Morning Jerk and all of the other NBC affiliates that are out there today, trying to tell you it's because of the bond rise and fall that this took place, that he panicked. This man that sits in the seat of the Oval Office as President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, does not panic. He has everything mapped out and understands how to deal with people across this nation as well as the rest of the world that has been taking advantage of this country with tariffs have been a tool for them to make money and screw this country out of whatever. They send their cheap goods in here because they have slave labor in some cases, and in China, cheap labor, and then flood this country with junk and then charge us tariffs so badly that we cannot develop or send our goods into that country without paying a fortune, or in some cases, we're just not allowed to market there. And the mainstream media is trying to paint this now as something that wasn't planned, that it was just all of a sudden. This was planned. Everything is working, and as I told you for the last 2 days, go out and buy and don't panic. The stock market will fluctuate up and down. Again, this morning, the futures were showing a downtrend. But if you stop and consider how the stock market works and how people, especially day traders that trade for 24 hours a day, look at things, they went out and bought when it was extremely low, and they took their profits overnight. And this is how the stock market manipulates everything, that you do not use this as a barometer for your financial health. Watch your 401ks if you want, but it'll make you crazy because they're up and down. Yesterday was a great day for taking profits. The day before was a great day for buying. As we told you here on the Kaiser Report, it's a great day to buy. However, do not panic over any of this situation. It's well in hand, and if you listened last night to the cabinet members that were out and telling you what was taking place, you have to understand you cannot listen to Shifty Schiff and the hearing people that are the Congress people and the senators that are saying, why weren't we told this was going to happen? Why? Because this is how they cash in and how they get rich. And they were mad that they didn't get a heads up so they could do some insider trading themselves. It's simple. But stocks were up tremendously at the close of the bell last night, and I'm sure more will continue as the story of these negotiations for tariff reliefs take hold and start to happen. We now have 70 to 80 countries calling our White House, trying to sit down and make a deal, and one by one this will happen, and we'll see how this works out. We have the art of the deal at work every day on our behalf, and when I say our behalf, I don't mean China's behalf, I don't mean Ukraine's behalf, I mean you, myself, and people like us that are here to pay our taxes and hopefully get some reward at the end of this with these tax cuts that are due to be renewed. And the one big beautiful bill once again is being held up by rhinos and some of the nutcase Democrats that think that they the new face of the Democratic Party. It makes me laugh, and we'll see a little of that as we talk a little bit more today. But the Trump checkmate that took place yesterday was very, very interesting. And this is a man that is schooled and can school other countries on how to take care of the tariff problems that exist and help us become wealthy again. Make America wealthy again. Make America great again. So let's take a look at a little bit of what followed yesterday. Take a look here.
Let's get ready to rumble!
At the headlines today, what the papers are saying, the Wall Street Journal, of course, talking about the tariffs, erasing the economy's solid outlook. Now talk of recession, over 50%.
And now we have economists out there debating, are we already in a recession? We have Goldman Sachs, Jamie Dimon saying, yeah, I think we're already there. You were quoting some of the folks.
Oil right now is just collapsing. It's being driven down towards 60.
A small price to pay for salvation.
You're insane.
So we're having recessions on every front.
We do begin tonight with U.S. markets in a free fall today for a second day in a row after President Trump's sweeping new tariffs. Tonight, China now retaliating with a 34% tariff on all U.S. goods sold in China.
Holy moly.
You shouldn't have been talking shit.
Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping.
With these new sweeping tariffs in effect, is there any dialogue right now between the White House and other nations to get this resolved?
Good morning, Errol. Well, the Trump administration has said there are now around 70 countries that have approached the U.S. to try to make a deal. The president even said that Japan and South Korea are flying in to negotiate. That's in addition to the calls that the administration says are happening.
Donald Trump has just made a pretty significant post on Truth Social. I'm just going to read the whole thing. Based on the lack of respect that China has shown to the world markets, I am hereby raising the tariff charged to China by the United States to 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. Here's a key line. I have authorized a 90-day pause and a substantially lowered reciprocal tariff during this period of 10%, also effective immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
A few moments later.
So we are, of course, watching Wall Street, where markets have gone up after President Trump announced a 90-day pause on the vast majority of countries. The exception, China, which will now face even stiffer tariffs, 125%. But the news that essentially all the other tariffs will drop to 10% for the next 90 days is getting a very enthusiastic reaction, as you can see from investors.
Yeah, please.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they've been talking about tariffs for decades. How come when these Democrat elites want tariffs, everything's hunky-dory, but when President Trump wants tariffs, all hell breaks loose? Do you see this double standard?
I love this guy, whoever the hell that is. That's really nice. I appreciate that question. No, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, everybody knew you had to do it, but they never had the guts to do it. It does take guts. It even takes guts for our country to go through it. That's why I say be cool. They were saying about, see, just be cool. It's going to work out. It's going to work out, and it's working out. I can tell you, working out maybe faster than I thought.
It needs correction.
You don't know that!
I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one with the will to act on it.
When I say checkmate, this is a chess game that is being played on 4 different levels, and this master at this is winning, and he will continue to win even though mainstream media fights against him, even though our Congress fights against him, and everything leads to you to believe that it's all wrong because mainstream media is carrying that narrative one more time. Morning Jerk this morning thinks, or yesterday morning, thought he had the big gotcha on Trump. And then what took place that you just saw is interesting at best. And that brings us to the one of the new leaders of the Democratic Party, or in his mind may think that he's a new leader of the Democratic Party. He's making noise that he is going to run for president in 28, and we don't know if he's even entertained the Senate or a House seat in the midterm elections. I'm not sure where Minnesota sits in that, but Crazy Timmy Walz is at it again, and the insane statements from the left, it's just unbelievable what this guy thinks of himself, never mind what his constituents must think. So take a look here.
Thank you to everybody. First of all, thank you for doing this in a high school. The only other place I'm more comfortable is my living room in Woodbend, so.
Can
we just speak English for a second here? And did it in a way that said, I can fix it for you and I'll fight for you. Now, all of us in this room would say is, he's the guy who did it in the first place. If you go poll people, if they want paid family and medical leave, they want it. If you want to have free breakfast and lunch, they want it. If you want to move to a clean energy economy that prioritizes jobs in your state.
It's not a real word, but keep trying.
We can't expect to win presidential elections that we don't show up places, and then every 4 years we go to the same 7 states and we were told the blue wall. It's not a very good wall. It wasn't a very good wall, and that's on me. My job was to be the white man whisperer in Middle America, you know.
My job was to be the white man whisperer in Middle America, you know.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's unbelievable how insane this guy really is, and thinks, and the Democratic Party thinks, that he was a big reason that Kamala Harris lost. And I kind of agree with that, and I'm sure you will too. The left is crying about MAGA every day, and they're trying to pull out all stops, and they're using the new faces of the Democratic Party, which are the Tim Walz, Jasmine Crockett, AOC, Ocasio-Cortez, and the like, to reform a Democratic Party and bring back to you the green scam deal and everything else that was attached to it before, because they have not learned a lesson. And Jasmine Crockett, oh my God, telling people that we need these immigrants to be here to pick the cotton because they ain't going to pick no cotton no more. And when she talks like that, it's an insult to her entire race because it's embarrassing. This is an educated woman that comes from a very wealthy family, trying to speak like she's directly out of the hood, and where she thinks that's going to take her in 2028 or in the midterm elections, I have no idea, but I guarantee you that she doesn't have an idea either. But we'll look at her in a little bit here. But the left is crying that MAGA is a cult now. And these people are major hypocrites that have no idea of what they're even talking about, much less what they're protesting against, and telling us how tariffs should be handled, which none of them can probably correctly spell the word tariff, never mind tell you how it's going to work. And the people around the world that tune in to listen to these idiots must really believe that this is a country of illiterate people that don't understand not only politics here, but world politics or world trade or anything to do with it, especially in an economic situation where they are not schooled and trained to even open their mouth and talk to you about it. But they have protesters out there that are going to tell you that the MAGA movement is a cult now. And while they're sitting in a cult of their own, they're going to tell you this. Take a look here.
My statement / question is, would you agree / disagree that the Make America movement, Make America Great movement, again, MAGA movement, is a cult?
No. Why don't you explain to me and the audience what is a cult?
Of course. Okay. Do you know any characteristics of a cult?
Sure. I mean, you could take the Jonestown death cult, of which there was a charismatic leader that constantly lied people, and they took him out of everyday normal life and leads them towards ostracization and cutting off of family ties. Am I getting closer to describing the Democrat Party?
According to the... No. What I'm talking about is MAGA. According to the Bethune Cook University website, characteristics of a cult include isolating members and criticizing them for leaving. Would you say that members of the MAGA movement will criticize others for leaving?
Well, yeah, I mean, but you guys criticize players that transfer out of the University of Tennessee football team. That's not a cult.
Okay, what about the absolute authoritarianism without meaningful accountability?
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that, like, what the leader says, the leader gets, basically?
Yes, Trump.
We have lots of disagreements in the MAGA movement. In fact, I'm more pro-life than the president is. In fact, a lot of people in this audience would have differing views maybe on where the president is at on Israel or Gaza or Ukraine or Russia. In fact, some people in this audience might say the president is not as pro-Second Amendment as they would like. I would argue that we actually have far more intellectual diversity in the MAGA movement than your traditional Democrat Party.
I see where you're going with this and stating that not every person who, I guess, supports Trump is fully supportive of him, but I'm saying the MAGA movement who will agree with him no matter what.
Well, I actually think that there's more depth and complexity to the MAGA movement than you would imagine. A lot of people here who would consider themselves to be part of the MAGA movement, they won't blindly sign on to everything that Trump does. However, they will say that they agree with him 8 out of 10 times or 9 out of 10 times. And so I would say, though, you know what was a cult? What was a cult is what we lived during COVID. during COVID and allow me to build out the argument that no matter what the CDC or Anthony Fauci would say, you would have the little talking heads on television parrot it back, no matter how insane it was. We must close the schools, 6 feet to slow the spread, wear a mask while showering. Okay, I made that one up. But, I mean, the point being is that far more had characterizations of what a cult would be than the traditional Make America Great Again movement.
Okay, but you could also argue the side that Fox News does the exact same thing, where they just regurgitate everything that the right media is saying, and people on the right will believe anything Fox News says. And I'm not defending CNN. I'm not saying the Democratic Party is perfect. I'm just saying that there is a movement of conservative people who support Trump who will do it no matter what.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get to where you have come to this opinion. I'm trying to understand it because I see something completely different.
I do not use CNN as my news source, by the way, just so you know.
Good for you. Apparently you haven't been in an airport recently because the only people that watch CNN is if you're walking through an airport. So I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, and by your own definition of a cult.
It's not my own. It's a legitimate
fine. So let me ask you a question. A cult would probably convince people to do something that would be against their humanity. Would you agree?
Yes.
A cult would probably get people to do something that they know is wrong, even though they think they should do something as right.
Maybe, because some of these people are brainwashed into believing certain things that they don't actually agree with because they don't have the proper information on it.
So, for example, would you agree that when the Democrats sat during the State of the Union address to not applaud a kid with brain cancer, that is cult-like behavior?
Where is the cult? I'll ask you that question. We have a comment section below. I would love to hear your comments on what you believe that these people are living in, if not a cult. It's unbelievable. So going back to the new face of the Democrat, this Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Tim Walz and Bernie Sanders is out on the campaign trail doing town halls that he's not going to tell you that you have to look at these tariffs as a real problem because you need to know that it's all about Elon Musk and the oligarchs that are taking all your money, and you need to vote for us one more time because we're going to help you out. It's unbelievable, but Jasmine Crockett takes the cake. When you when you think about the new face of the Democratic Party, they're at it again. Take a look here.
And while we are at it, they are lighting the Social Security on fire, Medicaid on fire, Medicare on fire, 401ks on fire, Department of Education on fire, and instead, what we need to light on fire are Trump's tariffs.
A word that I just innovented.
Let's talk about the fact that as of March 30th, Trump's golfing has cost us approximately $26 million. And the last time I checked, we're not getting anything in return for that. So, I will get back on my remarks.
You're so annoying.
With reducing GSA's workforce by 50%, improved data gathering and analysis.
I cannot say they're.
That's perfectly fine. We know that we need experts and not idiots. But Mr. Kendall, we will move on.
Set the pot to the kettle.
So understand that these people are desperate. They have to be desperate to put these people out as the face, the new face of the Democratic Party. And it's almost a crying shame that that they have Tim Walz and Crockett out there making the statements that they are, backed by Bernie Sanders. And then we have AOC, who, as amply said by Senator Kennedy yesterday, is the reason they put directions on shampoo bottles. And you have to see this. I guess it was Hannity that asked the question, but take a look right here.
I got 30 seconds. I got to give it to Senator Kennedy. What do you think of the new leadership, Jasmine, AOC, and Bernie?
I consider Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez to be the leader of the Democratic Party.
And that's just really sad.
She's entitled to her opinion. I'm entitled to mine. As I've said about her before, I think she's the reason there are directions on a shampoo bottle.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And our plan for dealing with her...
You didn't plan that out. We got to hurry.
Our plan for dealing with her is called Operation Let Her Speak.
That's a great idea.
A great plan.
Yeah.
So if you ever had a more silly, unprepared person to tell you how the government should be run, how tariffs should be handled, and how bad the cover-ups are and the tariff negotiations are, after these people, these same people that we just talked about, spent an entire 4 years of the last administration telling you that there was nothing wrong with Joe Biden, and watching what's coming out now about what really took place. And now Jill is out. Dr. Jill is rearing her head again. It appears to me that she may be the one that operated the auto pen that signed everything. She actually had to lead him around, and it's amazing that she didn't put a leash on him, because he had no idea most of the time where he was, or how to get off a stage, or how to find a bathroom without tape on the ground to lead him there. And it was covered up, aided and abetted by the mainstream media, such as Morning Jackass over there on MSNBC and CNN and all of the major legacy networks that ran interference for a White House that was full of graft, corruption, and dementia for all of those 4 years that they covered this up. And now they want you to believe that the current president that is working in just over 80 days to accomplish what couldn't be accomplished in his 4 years, Biden's 4 years, or the 8 years that Obama spent in the White House doing God knows what, whether he was even should have been in the White House is still a question that's on a lot of people's minds, but they don't want to say this stuff out loud. And now Michelle is back out on the talking on her podcast with, I guess she does this with her brother, about the media is making up about our divorce. Who cares? Seriously, do you think there's any love loss? Did you see the birthday party in the wine cellar where they sat so far apart that they needed a loudspeaker to talk to each other? We're not buying it anymore, Michelle. And 77 million people in this country weren't buying it in this last election. We're not buying Kamala Harris's rants and raves and word salads. We're not buying Tim Walz. We're not buying AOC's crap. And, of course, Jasmine Crockett needs to be recalled, because this is an insulting individual. She insults her own entire race on a daily basis and is lying to not only her constituents, but the rest of the country, where she's trying to build a coalition to get her a new job or a promotion or even run for the presidential ticket that's coming up in 28. God help us if that or AOC are on that ticket, because that would be a travesty for this country. So it's Thursday, and we're getting ready for a weekend coming up again. And if you have not laid in your meats for the barbecue this weekend, and I understand that some of the northern states are experiencing snow today, so they probably won't be cooking out. But if you are, and you have the weather to do it in, don't forget our sponsor here, Lazy J Farms and Butcher Shop, located in Kingsport, Tennessee, on Bloomingdale Road over there, and you'll see their number right here. And give them a call. You can get specialty cuts of meat any way you want it. If you want a 3-inch porterhouse steak, all you have to do is call in there, tell them Kaiser sent you, and you'd like a 3-inch porterhouse cut for you. And if you're not local and you want to have this shipped to your door anywhere in the United States, give them a call today. They'll ship it to you. They have the best chicken. They have the best pork products. Their cattle is blonde Aquitaine cattle, and it's completely different than any of this Kobe beef and expensive stuff that you can get. It will outpace anything else that you can buy on the market. I don't care if it's Omaha Steaks or specialty cut butchers that are in grocery stores. This will outdo it. So give Butch a call over there. Tell him Kaiser sent you, and tell him what you need for the weekend, and he'll help you out. So we're going to experience a little cool weather and a lot of rain here today, but we're looking forward to a nice sunny Palm Sunday this week, and I would like to wish all of our Jewish followers and friends here a very, very happy and healthy Passover, which takes place on Saturday. And please, we pray for you. We're praying for everything going on over near the Gaza Strip that is still a hotbed of problems for the Israelis, and we hope they have a peaceful Passover as well. And, of course, Palm Sunday comes for us that are celebrating the Christian holiday of Easter, which is next week. And get out and get your palms, and please pray for this president, pray for the cabinet, pray for our country, and pray for peace across the world. There's only one help we have here, and that is God Almighty, His Son, Jesus Christ, and all praise, power, and glory should go to Him, especially in this Easter week that is coming up. So God bless you all, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Kaiser Report. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Leave us some comments. Tell us what you'd like to see coming up during the summer months for our travel and things of that nature. And please stay safe, stay strong, and stay tuned to the Kaiser Report. Share it with your friends. And with that, we'll say bye-bye. Have a great rest of this Thursday.